like to turn the mic over to Dr. Dan McChesney for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Eric. Just one other point to follow up on the question that Dr. Little asked, that any of the speakers today or anyone in the audience that submits comments to the docket and that information is on the agenda, all those comments will be considered. So to go to Dr. Little's question, if Mr. Floyd submits the survey information in his presentation today into the docket, we will surely consider it and look at it and view the information. I think what we heard today, we heard from a professional organization, a state association of feed control officials, and a consumer who himself and his group were very active in pushing pet food safety based on the recall. And what I heard, at least, were a couple themes. One, there seems to be a call for clarification of the label, both from AVMA and consumers. They would like a label that's easier to read, that the claims that are on the label have been validated, that the data used to validate those claims is adequate. There was information requested on caloric content. To something that's more useful for consumer, more easily understood, that relates to the way people feed their pets. Many of you in this room now know that the qualifiers that are used for light or reduced calorie on the pet food are based within a certain product. So if I'm making a product and my original product has 2,000 calories or 1,500 calories per serving, or whatever the unit is, I can make a light product by having a few hundred calories less, like 1,000 calories or 1,200. Where someone else's product, my compatriot over here, could make a product whose original product is only 1,200 calories, which is the same as my light product, but that would be his regular product, and their light product may be 800 calories. So there is really no current firmness on what light is across the industry. It's based on your other relative product. And that, I think, was not mentioned in the AVMA comments. So if some of you were more in line with the human side of the house, you might not have caught that the reason for pushing for calories is that the labeling is not consistent across product lines. It's relative within a product line. So that really makes calories important, because you could feed a light product of one company that could easily be as many calories as a non-light product from another one. So that's a little bit of the background on the calorie content. But I think the point there is that both consumers and the professional associations saw a need for increased clarified labeling that provides more information to the consumer in a more understandable way. We heard from AVMA that they'd like pet food claims more substantiated, sustains on pet food products more substantiated. And I think that was a theme we also heard from the consumer groups. Emergency preparedness was another point that was put forth. We agree with that, and we're working on that. We look to the states. I think an important point that was made by AVCO today was that there are multiple layers in the safety system. There is the federal system, but there are also the states, both on the pet food and total animal feed safety side, do play a very important role in pet food safety and the safety of all animal feed products. A lot of the states do probably more inspections and more oversight than FDA does. We've also heard that AVCO currently has their publication list names of common ingredients, probably several thousand ingredients in the book, and that FDA has an MOA to use those as common and usual names. I think we'd like comments from the group on that to this docket. Is that appropriate? Would that meet the standards definitions and ingredient definitions? Would that be an appropriate use of those? We heard from Mr. Floyd that there's a need for more or increased oversight over the pet food industry. and a need to protect the American consumer. And I think the second point there, the need to protect the American consumer, was one that Dr. Atchison made this morning when he talked about the shift in philosophy from being a relatively responsive agency to one where we're pushing prevention and then intervention and then response really as the last thing. We want to go towards the prevention side of the house, and that's what's behind this meeting. That's what's also behind the overall food protection plan, moving towards preventiveness, and that would be my way of saying how we would better protect the American consumer. We heard that, at least from Mr. Floyd, that his members strongly support country of origin labeling. The one thing I got today from that, I mean, I've heard that before, but the one thing that I found interesting there is that most time people think of country of origin labeling, and obviously you put the country on it. That is difficult for a complete feed product, complete food product, because you can have sources from many countries. But I did find it interesting, his proposal was to basically put a disclaimer on the label that the ingredients were not coming from a certain country, basically coming from a country, or were not FDA inspected or FDA approved. I thought a rather novel approach. He again emphasized simplifying the labeling. And I think he also mentioned reviewing qualifiers, although he didn't mention like that, but he talked about a whole variety of other qualifiers that we see on pet food. And I think that goes back to, if we have qualifiers, there seems to be a request that these qualifiers have data to support whatever they're claiming. The other point that we heard today was from Mr. Floyd was his request not to combine the pet food part with the animal feed safety system. So I mean, I think that's an interesting view, and we will surely consider that. And obviously, the regulations were written for the pet food side, not the other. Also asked for banning products not meeting U.S. standards. That, as you heard Dr. Atchison say today, was really one of the approaches we are taking in China with the MOA, memorandum of agreement we have with China, and we're starting to work on aquaculture products and vegetable proteins coming in because of that. And the idea there is that these products will under this agreement have to meet U.S. standards, or all the U.S. requirements before they're allowed in. So that is something that's being developed, but it won't kid you, it's a long, arduous road, and as we all know, the United States depends heavily on imported food from around the world. The other thing was consumer education, and we truly embrace that. We agree that there needs to be more consumer education on food protection, food handling, reading of labels. And I think the plea we heard, simplify the label, where it takes 6 pages to explain a label. I mean, I know the folks that have written that, and it's well written, and it's understandable, but it's very detailed, and you have to think about it. And we have to ask ourselves, is that what we want on our label? Do we just want to be able to pick something up and read it and say, oh yeah, I know what's in it? And I think most of us would prefer that, oh yeah, I know what's in it, and what it means, and how I could use it. And that's not a criticism of pet food or any other industry. It's just a statement that I think when we pick things up and read them, we would like to know how we use it and what we get and what we're doing with it. And so I think that's good input, and we've heard that multiple times today, and we will surely look into that. And I think with that, I will end and say I'd like to thank you all for coming. And probably, Eric, I should give everyone one last chance if they'd like to make a comment before we adjourn for the day, and gets to either catch their flight home early or enjoy what, at least in the past week or so, has been a rare, nice, sunny day in Washington.